Michael. Thank you for coming and doing this interview for me.
No worries.
So before we begin, would you like to tell us something about yourself?
Okay, IT project manager. Manage projects for various large organisations. Telstra, Commonwealth Bank, Westpac. At the moment I'm managing projects for MasterCard Australia, obviously part of the global MasterCard empire. But the two projects I'm actually running at the moment are for Qantas. So projects delivering payment systems to support Qantas's web payments.
Yeah. Okay. And your experiences, I'm assuming that close to about 20 years in the IT industry so far?
Oh, it's officially over 20 now, but only just. 21st birthday, I believe. So, yeah, it's been a long time and a lot has changed in that time. So, from a very long way, I tell you.
So how important do you think it is for your clients to see you as a trusted advisor?
Oh, very important, particularly in project management, because in IT the stats on project management are quite stark, bad. 50% of IT projects fail outright, another 25% roundabout are partially successful, whatever that means, which means they cut something out, ran out of money, blah blah blah.
Okay.
So 25% less are actually successful. So as a senior manager, as a business stakeholder, if you're embarking on an IT project, if you don't trust the project manager running it, that's quite a concern. And obviously they need to be someone who's hopefully in that 25% of executing projects on schedule, on budget, on time. And as I said, there's an awful lot of bad project managers out there, particularly in IT.
Yes. Yes.
An awful lot of failed projects. So part of the issue I think we have with IT project management is a lot of senior stakeholders going expecting a project to fail, to have trouble, to be an issue. So
right.
They're in a lot of cases confrontational and defensive just to start off with.
Yeah.
Plus a lot of them don't understand IT. They've come in some cases from business. They don't understand why it takes so long, costs so much money, why it's all so hard. Case of Qantas at the moment, why wasn't it delivered by last July?
Yes.
Okay, on the project I've just taken over and trying to fix. So yeah, it's quite a challenge to build trust, or in the case at the moment, rebuild trust.
So with your experience of over 20 years, I'm safe to assume that you would have attended a lot of soft skills training so far. Usually there are half-day, 1 or 2 day training courses that are run in a classroom. Now what we have been doing is spanning this training across over 90 days, 13 weeks, and doing one module at a time, where you have skill building exercises in between, and then we can talk about what we covered in the last module, and then you can bring any problems and we can talk about it. How do you find this style of training versus the other ones?
I think it works very well. Going back to the first part of your question, there is a tendency in large organisations to put people into 1 or 2 hour or half-day courses, and then that's it. There's no follow-up, there's no practice, there's nothing. So as far as actually achieving any meaningful change, it's often the net result is half day of work and a nice lunch.
Yes.
So I don't think the large number of those courses any meaningful is actually achieved. And if anything, in IT is full of a lot of dysfunctional, difficult to deal with, poor communication type people who actually probably need those courses. They need to change more than most other parts of the organisation. I often joke I'm the presentable face of IT. And part of my role, in fact, is to act as an interface between the business and various other stakeholders and a lot of the techos who can't, won't, and you don't want in front of stakeholders or customers. So having, getting to the second part of your question, having a course that runs over a longer period, even if they're shorter sessions, and actually has time between the sessions to A, practice, and B, review the material and try and apply it, and then perhaps, this is me putting my project manager hat on, reviewing the results and looking at what you achieve. So big fan of the phrase, you get what you measure.
Yes.
And if you don't measure what has actually been achieved by something, it's kind of pointless.
Yes.
Okay? So yeah, I think the real value from there's real advantage and value to having that structured, measured approach over a longer period of time, rather than just turning up to a presentation or a session that is promptly forgotten.
Yes, yes. And over my career as well, I have attended quite a number of trainings, and that's one of the reasons I have structured it this way. And one of the reasons is I found the trainings make sense when you are in the classroom. Everything sounds very good and you think you have learned a new concept, and the moment you come out of the classroom, you just go back into your old ways of doing things. 1 or 2 days later, you don't even know where the material is. So it's not so much about just learning the material, but applying it, and then again, very important point, measuring it. Because no point learning and doing something if you don't know where you're getting with that. So
there needs to be an outcome,
Yes.
And the only way you're going to get people to actually action things is to measure it.
Yes.
To know that they're going to, and some of that's, I need that sort of discipline as well. If there's no outcomes, negative or positive, from not doing something, I'm not going to do it.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people are the same. Okay? You've got to be motivated to apply that, and it really helps to actually have, it's part of the reason for having a mentor or a coach as well, is to have that measurement, to have that reportability, accountability. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Plus, the other thing to that one is, and we all know this, it takes at least 21 days to form a habit. So that's one of the core reasons for doing it, spreading it across that longer period of time, is so you are immersed in this content for a longer period of time, and you see it, feel it, read it again and again, and do exercises, and you're immersed in there for 90 days, and then you come out soaked with it to some extent.
Well, everyone's really busy at the moment, and I mean, even with me doing this particular course at the moment, I am so flat out that I've been struggling to apply things in the field. But the fact that I know I'm going to be effectively reporting on it,
yes.
that is a powerful motivator, and I strongly believe that applies to a lot of people. They need that structure and motivation, and as you said, to form the habit as well.
Now, you've been my client for more than a year now, and I've also known you prior to that. So I believe overall at least 2 years we've known each other. Close to that, somewhere around that. And I know that with your expertise and experience, you connect with people very quickly and you gain confidence in them, because you're pretty straightforward. You don't hesitate in delivering a bad news if the bad news needs to be delivered. Sometimes people don't want to hear it, but at least it builds the confidence that you are the right person for the job as well. So apart from what you're already doing and what you're good at, what additional value this program you think has brought to you?
It's a good question. I mean, having come, much like a lot of IT people, having come from a very technical background, soft skills are not really focused on. As a lot of people in the IT industry have challenges around communication and sociability and all those sort of things. So that was certainly one of the goals I had coming into this course. And also, as a project manager, I'm dealing with more and more senior people. time goes on. And a lot of those people are very difficult to deal with. Okay, they've become senior people by being, in some cases, less than ethical. In some cases, very domineering. There's an awful lot of high D people, to use a disc analogy.
Yeah.
And there's also, because I specialise in project remediation, I come in and cleaning up where a project has run off the rails or failed, or in some cases I haven't even been able to get it out of the ground. Those often are conflict-filled situations initially, so they're quite challenging. And I know I'm really, really good at the actual mechanics of turning a project around, but I still think I need some improvement around dealing with some of those difficult stakeholders, particularly the ones that are less than ethical, if we have to put it. So that does tend to be something that still pushes my buttons.
Yes.
And I need to be a bit better at dealing with some of the dominant, difficult and deceptive senior stakeholders in both government and corporate that I've dealt with in the last 2 years.
And if I link this back to your previous comment around IT projects failing, then I believe that dealing with these people and getting the work done is also one of the important factors for the project to be successful. Because you'll find these kind of people everywhere. So consider someone who's not probably as experienced as you are, someone a little bit junior. What value can they look forward to from this program? So if you had a junior team member on your team and you put yourself in the issues, what value do you think it might bring to them?
Going back to some of my earlier comments, a lot of people are in IT because they need or want to be in IT. They're often poor communicators, prickly characters, in some cases arrogant. There's very few people in IT that I've met that couldn't benefit from improved communication, and that's regardless of level. Okay?
Yes.
The reality of IT these days is if you're sitting in a back room, not talking to people, you're going to be outsourced to certain countries in the Middle East and Asia. Okay, so the future of IT is dealing with customers, whether they be internal or external, and for that you need good communication skills. Okay? You need to be able to understand people and deal with people.
That is a very good point. I actually like your point, what you just said. I want to stress upon that if the company is getting the impression that your job doesn't require that kind of interaction, then obviously there is a chance that it can be outsourced and it can be done by someone somewhere else. So if your job does require people skills and that kind of interaction, but if people are not upfront about it and not getting up and doing what is required to be done, then there is a big chance that the job could be outsourced, because that's the impression the senior management is perhaps getting.
Yes, absolutely. It's all about cost these days.
Yeah.
Okay? The other point I want to make is the most effective projects I've run, the most that have delivered on time, on budget from the start, have been with good communication, and they've particularly been where I've had a team, what we call co-located, i.e. together, we're not working remote, and we have intimate involvement with the customer that we're delivering for, okay, and good communication. Most of the projects I've seen fail, and a lot of them I've have to come in and remediate. There's been poor communication. A lot of those have been dispersed teams, and generally I've had to come in and one of the first things I do is evaluate where the project's at, who's talking to who, what's been communicated, what's been agreed, all those sort of things. And in some cases, still certain government department, two government departments were working on a project together. We're supposedly running the projects for 9 months. They hadn't even exchanged basic contact information and basic technical information about what they were trying to achieve. Okay? So one problem I solved to been out extended for 9 months by getting all those people in a room for 10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the value of good communication, even if you have to be in different locations, it's one of those things I've come to be comfortable in checking the background. It took me many years to realise how important that actually was.
Yes.
Okay? And particularly as a project manager, how important that actually is. Okay?
Yes. And I also, from my experience, I also know some of the junior people who come in the IT perhaps feel that it's not their job. Someone else will take care of that. So either there will be a BA in the team, or there's a project manager in the team, or a change manager in the team. It's not my job to do that kind of interaction work. And we're talking about a workplace where it's filled with people. So we're basically talking about just, general courtesy thing, that regardless of what role you are doing or what level you are on, just have good courtesy to talk with people and be open to talk, not be intimidated by anything. Don't hold back because you're junior or senior or someone else will take care of it. Just take the responsibility, take the lead, and do whatever needs to be done.
That said, that is a difficult thing for a lot of people in IT to do there. That goes back to, I originally was a developer myself. I'd come from that background where, it's open communication is not something that comes naturally to a lot of people in IT.
Yes.
But as I said, you reminded me, thank you, 21 years experience, I've come to the conclusion now that that's a major critical thing,
yes.
And particularly from a project perspective, it's why a lot of projects fail.
Yes.
People not talking to each other, people not agreeing to each other. Regardless of whether it's verbal, face-to-face or written communication, it's very important, and particularly for junior people. I can't emphasise it enough these days, and particularly, as I said, the future of IT. If you're in IT, if you're not in some way, shape or form dealing with a customer, beware. Be very afraid, because your job will be outsourced to India, the Philippines, wherever. Okay?
Yes.
It has happened, it's already happening, it will continue to happen. Okay?
Yes.
So it's in fact one of the reasons I'm in project management. The customer-facing element of projects will be the absolute last part of IT to be outsourced, because I still maintain it can't be done. Okay?
Yes.
The not being in front of the customer, not interacting with the customer, the whole document everything and come back in 12 months waterfall methodology is a proven dismal failure. Okay? Most of those projects fail. They are the 75%. Okay?
Yes.
So the future of IT, particularly in the Western world, is going to be customer-facing interaction, development or infrastructure, customer interaction, and the back end will be, for at least 20 or 30 years, outsourced. Okay?
Yes.
So if you want to continue to have a job in IT in Australia or the US or any Western country, you need to be a good communicator. You need to be, in some way, shape or form, customer-facing, or at worst, one line behind.
Yes. I agree with you 100% on this, and in a way you have actually answered my last question, which I was going to ask. The question that I was going to ask you was, if someone is still hesitating to contact me to know more about this program, what would you suggest? And I think you already said that in this day and age, if you're not proactive about your communication skills, whether you are junior, mid-level or senior person, then you are giving an impression that your job does not require that kind of human interaction, and perhaps a candidate to be outsourced.
Yeah, I'll reiterate my previous comments, but the realities of cost in IT for at least the next 20 years is that it's going to remain significantly cheaper to outsource back-end positions, whether that's development or infrastructure or support, to India, the Philippines, potentially Africa down the track as well. It will only be a 20 to 30 year issue, because Salaries are already rising in India. India and China and various other countries are approaching first world status, and they will inevitably approach first world salaries. So if you're in IT in Australia or in the US or other Western countries, if you're not a good communicator, if you're not customer facing, whether that be an internal or external customer, your job is prime for outsourcing. So if your communication skills are not good, the job is once again a prime for outsourcing.
India and China has already proven this model, and there are still many countries left in the Asian continent. So it's not that maybe today these countries are not well English speaking crowd there, but India and China has already shown what's the track like. So countries like Philippines and Thailand, they are now coming up, and soon you will see a lot more. As you said, even African countries will start to jump on the bandwagon because it's been a proven model.
One thing I can say is that a lot of those outsourcers are, the quality is not so great, and their communication is not so great either. So once again, that will change over time. So the way you differentiate yourself in this and keep your job in the Australian market, and going back to IT job security and those sort of things, as I said, in my opinion, is to be a very, very good at your job, okay, because of a lot of these outsourcers have quality issues. You get what you pay for in a lot of cases, unfortunately. I managed a lot of these people remotely, and the quality generally is not so good. But secondly, as far other than doing a really good job and being certified and qualified and outskilling a lot of those people, the other big advantage is your communication and customer-facing focus here in Australia. A lot of those organisations, outsourcing organisations, are not so good at that. Okay?
Yes.
Even with the people they have here in Australia. So yes, it's actually really important for the next 20 to 30 years, I would suggest, to in IT in Australia have really good communication skills and be customer focused, at least in some part of your job.
Thank you, Michael. You've given a lot of good insights today. I really appreciate, and I'm sure that people who will be listening to this, they will get a lot of ideas and what they can do in their career going forward, especially the junior IT people who are starting out their career or have a few years of experience, what to look forward, and will learn from your hindsights that they don't have to wait for 20 years to realize something to do about it. Here is a person who's gone through all that, and he's talking from the experience and saying this works, this doesn't work, and these are the trends that's happening in the industry and what to be aware of, and very good insights. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.